All right, everyone. Hello, I'm Natalie from Sew Hungry Hippie, and I'm your vinyl expert. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to show you today how to sew this easy zipper pouch using the printed TPU vinyl. So our leopard is the printed vinyl, our bananas, which is currently sold out, but it's restocking, the mushrooms, the hippie buses, the pink hearts, all of that is printed, and we have about 5 more designs coming in very soon. It's a little bit different than our clear glitter vinyl, our 10 and 12 gauge clears, translucents in the shop. And it's very different than the jelly. So I think the biggest takeaway to sewing this is to give yourself permission to try out scrap pieces or projects that don't matter a lot and play with your machine, okay? The biggest thing with this printed vinyl is you may have to adjust your tension. May. What I would do is I would cut off a scrap piece like this. Sometimes I'll just fold it over because most of the time I'm going to be sewing 2 layers, and I'll play with doing straight stitching. In fact, let me just show you. Tori, can you please lay down in your bed? Your tappity taps are annoying me right now. I am using a Gutermann all-purpose thread. It's available everywhere as well as in my shop. Not fancy, not expensive, not special. It's just the sew all thread. It used to be called all purpose. And the trick to that is it's a polyester content, so it's super strong. Let me flip this camera view and I'll adjust my machine a bit here. So I've got this folded and double layered, and this is what I do. I have my Teflon foot on. The Teflon foot is essential for this vinyl. And then I'm going to be at a 3 stitch length. And right now I'm at my usual tension. And I'll just bring it down. And then I'll take it out and look at my stitches. These look pretty good. So that tells me that I don't need to adjust the tension on this machine. Now, if this was looping, if it was nesting or doing any crazy thread things, then I would slowly adjust my tension. And when I say slowly, I do indeed mean slowly. So this is my tension area, and where I adjust tension is up here, this knob. And I do maybe a quarter, not even a quarter, like an 1/8 of an inch turn on my knob to just slowly see how far down I can bring the tension. That's a lot of tension right there. I have never sewn any of my vinyl with more than 1 turn of tension, okay? Now that's for this machine. This is a Juki TL2000. But if you are using another brand, it's totally fine. I also sew this vinyl on my Bernina 1008, which is an entry-level machine. I have no issues because I can play with tension easily, and I can play with stitch length and just adjust. So if you can't find your booklet to adjust your tension on your machine, Google it, because most of these manufacturers now have a PDF booklet to operate your machine online. Trust me, they do. If you can't find it, then email the company like Juki, Bernina, whatever, or go on their website and search it, because a lot of them will host the booklet as well on their websites, and you can just open it. I've done it for Juki because for a while I couldn't find my booklet. It resurfaced, so I'm safe now. I just keep it right on my sewing table for easy reference. Because if you don't do something a lot, you're going to forget. And that's just human nature. We have too much going on. Okay, let me take you overhead for some of the handy tools that I use when I sew this vinyl. So I mentioned the thread. I will mention the needles. Microtex 8012 is awesome for this vinyl. It's piercing it rather than going through the missing fibers as it would in fabric. So this is a piercing needle. You want that. I do sew with a universal 80-12 as well with Schmetz, and I have no problem. But that could be machine dependent. I would say get the Microtex. We have these in the shop. I always have my mallet handy. So for instance, this fold, if that feels a little thick, I'll come in and do that and then go sew it. And it makes a difference. It's so silly. You would think that that would do nothing. It absolutely helps. It really, really does. I'm going to be inserting a zipper on this pouch today, and I use this by Annie's double-sided basting tape every single time. It doesn't gum up your needle. It's wonderful for holding things in place, especially on a slippery-ish vinyl. So get yourself some of this tape. We stock this all the time. Oops. One pack has 2 rolls. I've already used a whole roll here. And let's see, what else? I do use my Havel's Teflon coated scissors. I also cut this vinyl with my Havel's rotary tool, both 45 and 60. I have no problem with those. I always use Wonder clips. I have bajillions of these because you don't want to put needles through this kind of vinyl. The hole will be forever. So have your clips nearby. And I would say the other thing is to have patience. The other thing is to have yourself a pressing sheet. You can buy the Goddess sheet. It works well. I've had several of these, but you could also do the cheaper version and just get yourself a Teflon baking sheet, like off of the A store. And it's like $6.95 for 3. And I use those as well all the time. So let's get into this. Let's do this. I'm going to give you some basic measurements to make this size. But remember, you can absolutely play. If you want to make it taller, wider, shorter, skinnier, whatever you want to do, just make up your own measurements if you want. We're not going to box the corners on this because this is great for putting in your suitcase or your bag or your purse to hold all your bits. Let me show you what's in mine. This is in my purse all the time. Everything from loose change to whatever. So this is what I carry all the time in my bag. My lip stain, some Band-Aids, a skeleton pen, chapstick, marker, multiple pens, my Via Instant Coffee, what is this? Dried fruit, and a Luna bar. Like, I have to have that stuff here. So it all goes in here, and then I'm never without. Okay, and that fits in my purse. So this is roughly about 10.5 inches wide and 5.5 tall. So as I'm cutting the vinyl out, we're gonna do 11 inches wide and 6 tall because you always lose height and width when you're inserting zippers or doing the seams. So just remember that. Okay, I think today, should I use bananas or mushrooms? Let me use the mushroom. So I'll use the mushrooms because we have a lot of it. And bananas will probably take another couple weeks to come in. So I could use the buses too, but I'm feeling in a fall mood. So let's use mushrooms. I usually cut this with the print side up because then I can see it very, very clearly. Oh, and I need to grab my favorite rulers. So this is the one I use most often. I have these in the shop. It's a 2.5 by 12.5 ruler, and it's just really easy to manipulate. So I'm filming by myself here at the moment, so I'm sorry I can't zoom out a little bit more, but let's just carry on, and maybe on the second time around, Ramel will be here. Okay, so I'm going to come over and cut at the 11-inch mark. And then I'm going to turn it. This is what I love about a non-directional print. You can turn it any which way you need to cut. Now, since this is just shy of 12, I'm going to cut mine at 5 3/4 so that I can get 2 out of this one piece. So there's a 5 3/4, and here is a 5 3/4. Okay, so now I've got Look, I've got all this left from this roll. You know what I mean? Like you could do a bunch of stocking stuffers with one roll of the printed vinyl. So fabulous. So now I've got this is the body, these are the body pieces. They're cut out. Now we just need to do a zipper. Looks like I pulled a banana zipper. I'm thinking I need to change my zipper color. Let's do white and gold. I'm going to do this since this one was written on anyways. A little bit. This is my number 5. That's the size zipper with number 5 pulls, and I'm going to get my zipper jig. Now we want to cut our zipper an inch less wide than the body piece, the width of the body piece. So if I take you overhead here, remember this is 11 inches wide, so I'm going to cut my zipper to be 10. And I may even go just a smidge under 10. Okay, now usually I should have put this on first, because if I mess that up, I might have to trim it again or do a new one. Okay, good. Went on pretty good. Now if I need, yeah, that's just a smidge off, so no biggie. So now I'm ready with my zipper length here. We've got extra space on each end. Now I'm going to do the zipper tabs. So I need a scrap of fabric. Do I have any scraps sitting around? Hello. Okay, found a scrap. I'm just going to do my zipper tabs 2 by 2 inches. Keeps it simple. There they are. Now I don't have my iron turned on, so I'm just going to do this by hand. But you know this, I do this in all my patterns basically. Fold in half, and then fold in half to meet that crease. So now it's like a piece of double fold binding. And I'll insert the easier end first. And I'll use a clip. And we're just going to sew right across there. I don't bother changing my Teflon foot. This will sew just fine. I will turn it down to about a 2.5 stitch length. I should be using my stiletto, but that's okay. There it is. Now since we're over here, I'm just going to close up this open end. It can be more difficult to put on a zipper tab if you don't close that first. Okay, so now it's closed, so that'll be easier to manipulate. And then we'll put on the tab for this end. I insert that zipper to touch the fold. And I will absolutely measure my zipper to make sure this is the right length. If my zipper is too long, then I'm going to have crunched tabs when I'm finished with my pouch, and I don't want that. So if you ever get to this point and your zipper is too long, then just take it out and redo it. It's much easier now. So I have, looking at this, I have a finger width space on each end after my zipper tabs are applied, and that's perfect. That should absolutely happen every time. Sometimes it could be, if it's not turning out like that, it could be you cut your zipper to the wrong length, or you didn't insert it to touch the fold of the tab. That can happen. Or perhaps you cut your tabs too big. I've done that before too. So don't ever feel bad if you make a mistake. We all do. We all have on and off days as well. Just put it aside, take a deep breath, and start over, or walk away and come back later. Okay, I'm going to trim my threads. I'm going to have my zipper here. Now it's time to put the pouch together. This is going to go together lickety-split. So this is what I would normally do and clip it, but I'm going to show you a little trick that will help a lot. So if you have these tools, use them, and if you don't have them, get them, because it's going to be way easier. I put this all the way out at that far edge, all the way across. This is cheap. You can get yourself some couple packs of tape. You're going to use it all the time. Press it down. Lift that paper off. Do one side at a time. Zipper right side down, facing your printed vinyl and centered. So you are going to have vinyl on each end extending on the sides, about a finger width space, okay? Now I gotta get my head in the way a second. If you misplaced it, look, just lift it up and do it again. The edge of the zipper tape is even with the edge of the vinyl. Now we are going to sew down right here to attach the zipper. You can put on your zipper foot if it's easier for you. For this tape, it's a number 5, so I don't have a problem with my Teflon foot because it's pretty narrow. So I don't take the time to switch to my zipper foot on this. However, if your foot is wide, take a moment to switch to a zipper foot because it will help you a lot. Needle down, I'm going to raise my foot and lift that pull out of the way. Foot back down. And that ensures I'm not doing this wavy stitch line. I must need a new blade in my thread cutter. So it's sewn down. Now while I'm here, actually I'm going to go back to the table. While I'm here, I'm just going to flip this over and push that seam allowance down. It doesn't matter which way you want to put it. You can push it up, you can push it down, but I push it down so that I can top stitch this and make it really behave. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to top stitch all along here, catching the excess tape and the seam allowance of vinyl so that my pouch is never curling up into the zipper ever. I'm going to increase my stitch length to 3.5. I don't need this to be a small, tiny stitch. And as you can see, I'm going to have to stop every so often to make sure that my seam allowance is pressed towards the vinyl pouch. I do recommend you do this because it'll make your pouch behave better for you. I think you'll be happier with the result. Okay, there's that. So now we have the other side to put on. Then we sew the sides and bottom and we're done. Let's put on our tape. All right, I'm going to peel that off. Make sure that your sides are even, you're centered. And now we're going to sew down this line again. Oh dear. Yeah, they're kids. Okay, Tori. There we go. Now I'm going to top stitch this side. So I'm going to press that seam allowance down and come in with my whacker. Okay, let's top stitch this. I'm going to change the stitch length to 3.5. You don't have to back stitch on this one because it'll get sewn over again. Stop anytime you need to readjust. And don't push or pull the vinyl. That can be an issue too for some people, is you subconsciously are pushing or pulling, thinking the machine needs help getting the vinyl through, and it doesn't. Let the feed dogs do their work. Okay, so this is a trick I always do. I come in and I make sure that my sides are straight. I will line this up on a yellow line and along the bottom. You can even employ your Zen blocks to help you hold it. I will trim the sides to make sure that they're exactly correct. There it is. I'm going to flip it around and do it on the other side. Make sure it's flat. And it's usually maybe just less than 1/8 of an inch, but I feel better knowing that everything is exactly the same. Then come in, and if you need to clip some of these pesky threads, do it now before the pouch is together. It's much easier. They're usually around here on the sides or at the zipper pouch. The zipper tab. Just get them out of the way now. Usually I use just a white Gutermann color thread with all my clear vinyls. It's inconspicuous and it works. I don't worry about using invisible thread. I don't find that it's very beneficial because a lot of times it gives me problems with the tension. It's a monofilament of a different type, and it's just, I don't have great results with it. So I just use white Gutermann, and that I'm happy with that. You can barely see it, if at all. Today I'm using pink, actually, and it's not a whole lot different. It's a light pink. Okay, let's put this pouch together. So first, make sure that your zipper is open. And then place it on your work surface. And match up the bottom first. And then make sure your sides are matched up. And the key here is the zipper tab. See how this is sitting? It's just even on both sides. And when we sew, we are not touching that zipper tab. We're sewing all the way up the side, and we're going to completely miss it. This is the seam allowance right here. That's how much room you have. It's like 1/2 inch. So I just make sure these are even and sitting right. Put in some clips. And because our zipper is open, we can sew all the way down, all the way over, and all the way up. You don't have to leave any openings at all because your opening is your zipper. So for newbies, I suggest you sew across the bottom. Take it out, and then sew from the top down or from the bottom up. Take it out, and sew the same direction on the other side. If you started at the bottom, sew bottom up. That's what I would say. So sew your bottom closed, take it out. Begin over here, bottom up, take it out, flip it, sew from the bottom up, okay? That way, all of your sewing is going in the same direction for both sides, and you won't inadvertently make any shifting movements or make it wonky. I'll do that here. because if you've never done this, it can be helpful. Just so you know, if you're super experienced and you feel really confident, you can absolutely just start at the top, sew down, across, and up, and you'll be okay. But, you know, sometimes things just take experience. So let's do it across the bottom first here, because my whole goal is to make sure you guys feel confident if you're new to this. I'm switching down to a 3mm stitch length. That's plenty for vinyl. You don't need to backstitch a ton with vinyl. If you backstitch too much, you can perforate it. Now I'm going to start on the bottom on this side. I just take a quick little stitch as my back stitch, and I'm completely missing that zipper tab. See that? I'm completely missing it. Now, instead of turning like this, I'm flipping it so that when I start at the bottom, I'm sewing in the same direction that I did on that first side. Okay, let's bring it over here. I'm going to trim some of this seam allowance away. I usually do an angle cut here from that top corner over, and then I'll come in, and then on the bottom corner, I'll do an angle. And you don't have to trim any seam allowance away, but it can make it a little bit easier to turn right sides out, and it can look a little better. Maybe that's just my mind saying that, but I feel like it does. I'm going to trim any threads I see happening. I see a thread over here. It's just easier to do it now. So you can see that's not a whole lot of trimming. My zipper is open. Now, if you're having a hard time turning, take your hairdryer and warm this up for 20 or 30 seconds. Okay? Don't blast it, but warm it up, because vinyl is more malleable when it's warmed up. I'm just going to turn it. It's not terrible or anything. I have an easy point and press tool here somewhere that I usually use to get my corners out. Here it is. It's got a ball ends so that it's not sharp. We have that in the shop as well. It's called the Expert Point and Press tool. I use it often. Even on fabric bags, corners are usually, you got to really work to get them out. I'll come in there with that in a second. I do want to show you the zipper tab portion, because a lot of folks think it's just going to naturally turn out, and it doesn't. You have to push it out. So let's go overhead. This is how it's sitting so far. You're not happy with that, right? I'm not either. You have to come in with your finger, your thumb, or whatever tool you want to use, and pop that zipper out, that zipper tab. See how great that looks? See how this side looks amazing and clean? And this side is going in and like all crazy looking? It's because it's not popped out yet. Just take your finger, pop it out. That's it. Now I'm going to take the bigger end of my easy point and press tool and push my corners, my bottom corners out. And then I'll go along the bottom with my finger just to make sure it's pressed out, and we're done. Now, if I were gifting this, I would probably grab a heavy book and set some stuff on it overnight. That's not very heavy. And just flatten it a little more. But I love it. There's the pouch. There's the zipper. There's the size. Pretty close to my other one. Zipper tabs are clean. Everything is straight. We used the tools that help. And if you don't skip those steps, you're going to love your result every time. It seems like every time I try to save time by skipping a step or a tool, I mess it up worse. What is that? Must be Murphy's Law. Let me take you overhead and show you this again. See how clean that zipper is? Hold lots of stuff in there. I think if you're going to a retreat, you could even put your scissors in, or your thread, or whatever you want to do. There it is. Let's review really quick. Some tools you want to use to make your life easier with this vinyl. You want to get out your booklet, and remember, where do you go if you can't find your sewing machine booklet? You Google it, or Safari it, or whatever you want to do. You're going to Google, let's see, Juki TL2000 QI User's Manual. So if yours is a baby lock, model, user's manual, you're going to find it. And if not, you can go to their website. Most of the websites carry it as a PDF format on their website too. You don't have to print it out. You can just look at it on your computer. And maybe you want to do a screenshot and print off that one page for your tension. So with TPU printed vinyl, number one, play with your tension. Remember, cut a scrap. Remember how I did this in the very beginning? Folded it in half, made sure my tension and my stitch length, my thread, everything was good. You're going to want to get 8012 Microtex needles. If you're using something fancy like a metallic thread or some kind of tex whatever thread, you might want to get a size 90 needle. It really depends on the eye. And a 90 is not only a bigger needle, but the eye is bigger. So Microtex needle, a whacker. We have these are seam pounding mallets. We have them in the shop. I think they're $15.99. We're not selling Tori. You can't have Tori. You want to get yourself some double sticky basting tape. We have this in the shop. Might want to get an expert point and press tool. We have this in the shop. You want to get yourself a good quality all-purpose polyester thread like Gutermann. We have this in the shop. You do want Wonder clips or some kind of clips because you can't pin this vinyl unless you want to leave holes permanently. I suggest a nylon number 5 zipper for your first pouches. That's what I use all the time. They're easy to sew because of that wider tape, the 5mm tape, and ours look like metal, but they're not, so you can just sew right over them without worrying about breaking your needle. A goddess sheet or a Teflon baking sheet. I've showed you that many times on my tutorials. And I think those are the tools that I use all the time. I do suggest making yourself some Zen blocks. We have this pattern by Tansy Designs. It helps to hold things down and flat because you don't have 3 or 4 hands. Wouldn't that be fabulous if we did? And also, if you're putting on your pulls, a zipper jig. This tool is super handy. Helps me very, very much to speed up my workflow. And again, cut yourself some slack, play around, give yourself permission to mess up. It's okay, you're learning. Remember, you can make the sizes whatever size you want. These would make great gifts, great quick, easy sews for those days where you don't have much time or you just need a peace out moment to yourself. Sew yourself a new bag for your purse or your luggage. And if you have any questions, do ask in the comments. We will come in and answer you as soon as possible. All right, go sew, have fun. Peace, love, sewing always. I'll see you soon.